All right, so this would be emotional intelligence part 2. So I'm so glad there's a lot of you that joined me in last week. I know it's not always feasible with work schedules, so you join when you can. But I'm glad to share this part with you so that we can practice it. Like, what does it mean? You can't just hear a message once and then think you're going to get it. You need exposure to it. You need practice. Okay, so my name is Cecilia Denton. I'm an industrial psychologist. I'm the owner of PTES Consulting. If you were wondering what it stands for, it started off as a practice psychometric testing and evaluation services. Then we just got too big and we decided to register a company. So now it's PTES Consulting, as boring as that sounds. But that's how we started. We are psychometric assessment specialists. And what we're going to look at today is emotional intelligence. And I always like to thank the HR Talk for arranging these sessions with us and their clients, together with my clients. They arrange everything and they send out the invites. They're always just very, brilliant with this. Okay, so before we start with famous personalities with high EQ, I just wanted to quickly recap on what we did last week. You can, for the people that didn't see the presentation, you are welcome to Google and research Lisa Nowak. And the reason why we spoke about Lisa Nowak last week is because she's a very good example of someone with an incredibly high IQ, slightly lower EQ. But then again, I watched some more research on her lately, and I thought, it's quite harsh because everyone is using her as an example of this, and it is a true reflection. But also, I did learn there was some severe depression involved. There was I think she had some psychotic episode. It could also be related to her travels to space. They don't really know what the effects of that, the pressure and stuff has got on our brains and whatever. But she's a very good example of someone who incredibly intelligent, incredibly successful, fighter pilot, numerous degrees. And then there was the incident with a lover. This person then met someone else, and then she went off the rails a little bit. But the crux of the matter is she struggled to understand her own emotions, her emotions of others. So research it a little bit. You'll find a lot of it on YouTube. It's quite a good example. It's quite an extreme example. It's just an interesting example. So, but it's also in my previous notes that I will email to you. But so today, let's look at famous personalities with high emotional intelligence. So let's start with Leonardo DiCaprio. So at just 24 years old, DiCaprio established the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation that was committed to promote environmental awareness, especially global warming. So the foundation has worked in over 40 countries and has 2 short web documentaries to its credit. So the names of Water, Planet, and Global Warming. So in 2016, he met with the Pope and spoke about environmental issues. So moved was the Pope that he agreed to act in a charity film, Beyond the Sun. So he is also getting involved. He's making people aware of what is going on. So, well, a lot can be said. Lately, I'm also thinking about what people are also doing, talent-wise, high performance. I also look at the dosages of narcissism that we sometimes get under high-performing people. But I think if we can get a good understanding of who people are, where they're coming from, what makes them who they are. So Leonardo DiCaprio, probably a lot of confidence there. I'm not going to say anything more, but I think the fact that he is stepping out of his role, making a little bit, creating awareness of what is going on around us, I think says a lot. So let's go to the next slide. Then there is Keanu Reeves. Not a slave to the dollar, Keanu Reeves is known to be very humble. There have been multiple instances showing just how grounded he is, be it the news of him splitting his hefty paycheck with the film's makeup and specialist effects teams during the movie The Matrix, or waiting in queue to get his own party. Reeves is known to be a celebrity who is in touch with his emotional side. So there's a lot of things that's out there about Keanu Reeves being quite humble. What it is that we see in the news, what we see on TV, and that it is only as accurate as that what we are seeing. So once again, I don't want you to just believe everything that we're seeing or reading, but from everything that I could have gathered about him, there's always quite positive posts. So the pattern is quite good. And there's probably not a lot of people that's high flyers, very successful, that acts in quite a humble way like this. I think if you do, that's really something you have inside of you. Let's look at George Clooney. So I actually kind of like him. You can see from the way that I'm talking, when I look at all of these stars and important people and famous people, I am quite aware also of the side of people where they may be doing things for attention. I do ask quite a lot of questions. I don't just accept what it is that I see, because I've now seen that you have to ask questions. There's a little bit of everything. But also what I see about George Clooney is quite nice. There's also a pattern of nice things about him. Once again, it's also only what we see on TV or online, but the pattern with him has also been quite good. So, no, not only for his stunningly good looks, Clooney is known to be a huge supporter of peace and anti-war movements. He has been outspoken about gay rights and support towards refugees. He is one of the primary associates of 100 Lives Initiative, a project that remembers lives lost during the Armenian genocide. So Clooney has also launched the Aurora Prize that awards those who risk their lives to prevent genocides and human atrocities. I do think he's not just known for real good coffee, of which I'm a real good fan, but he really he does put himself out there, and I do get the impression it's genuine. So this is someone who cares. So the reason why I'm talking to you about this, can you see that there's a pattern of caring from Leonardo De Caprio to Keanu Reeves to George Clooney? There's a pattern of, I care a little bit more than just about myself, because I think currently today, the selfishness, the self-centeredness for self-preservation is so strong. When we turn a little bit outside and we just look to that side and not just to ourselves for a change, that is big. It's big to be able to do that, especially in the times that we are in as well. Princess Diana, you knew that I was going to bring this one up. So arguably the most loved princess of her time, Diana showed great respect towards foreign cultures during her speeches. She vowed the world in 1989 when she visited the pediatric unit of the Harlem Hospital, where she spontaneously hugged an HIV-positive child that led to breaking of the global stereotypes of illness. I don't even think I have to really add a lot here. I think this woman was just loved just spontaneously by such a lot of people. I don't even think she tried hard. It just came out of her. I doubt that the media could manipulate us to the extent that we just like her and love her falsely. I think really what she showed and portrayed was really genuine. All right, so as promised, let's do a test. So this is what the test measures. So this is an actual test, but I'm going to break it up. You're not going to get a score at the end of this. I've clustered the questions together with what it means. So what we will be looking at is 5 things. Firstly, your own self-awareness. Secondly, self-regulation. Thirdly, motivation. Fourthly, empathy, and then social skills. So can you see out of the examples that I showed you now, can you see that there's empathy for others, there's care for others? If I look at South Africa at the moment, I'm quite concerned about our care outwards. We've turned massively inwards, but it is obviously a self-preservation defense mechanism. So I don't want to be too hard on people. What people do when they turn inwards and when they become selfish, it is a self-preservation thing. unfortunately, narcissism is a self-preservation thing. This is why people develop it from a very young age. When they get neglected, the opposite of the neglect would be terribly spoiled. And believe me, you get one of both. The spoiledness comes up quite a lot. But when a child gets neglected, severely left alone by the parent figures, narcissism will develop because it's self-preservation for the child. And but you don't have to be classified as a narcissist. You could have narcissistic or self-centered traits. It doesn't make you a full-blown narcissist. A full-blown narcissist has got no empathy. They don't even know what it is. They can't see it. It's like being blind. So it's almost like you can't really deal with that person or help them. They don't know what it is. They can fake it, yes, but they can't feel it. It's a missing limb. So a lot of people can be on the scale of selfishness with selfish traits, but I can still have empathy. But be aware of your own, how you look at the world and yourself. Often what we miss is looking outside, helping people gives you the greatest pleasure and satisfaction. We just, because you go here to self-preserve and protect, you miss all of that satisfaction. You forget about it, you miss it. And especially in a time that we are now, you may get more satisfaction out of it if you just help here and there, just kindness here and there. We're losing it at the moment because of the panic, and once again, I'm not judging because the panic is real. Load shedding is real. So I'm not trying to minimize what is going on, but I want you to look after yourself, become aware of yourself. So let's do the first question, self-awareness. So I want you to look at the three statements or questions. And I want you to answer it as truthfully and honestly as you can. So do what you can. You may not have an answer. So you can even write your answers down. I will send you the slides, so you will have the questions. Write it down. Think about it. You may not have an answer right now and maybe have it correctly right now. You can also become aware of this and start to get to your answer as time goes by. So I recognize my emotions as I experience them. Secondly, I know my strengths and weaknesses. Thirdly, I ask people for feedback on what I do well and how I can improve. So in the 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ, Goleman explained that people with high self-awareness and are aware of their moods as they're having them. So this is a good book that you can maybe research by Goleman. To increase self-awareness, learn about mindfulness. This involves focusing on the present moment, so including how you're feeling, and keep a journal in which you write about and analyze the emotional situations you experience from day to day. So you will see that I'm talking about the emotional situation. You cannot have emotions and an emotional experience without the situation. We usually just think, I'm just irritated now, I'm just frustrated now, I just want to kick the dog now, and I don't know why. It's not just there. And I know we blame it on, maybe a good one would be hormones. I must be hormonal or something. It comes from somewhere. So when you feel frustrated or irritated, stop right there, recognize it, trace back what happened. Was it that email that I got? Was it that conversation that I got, that I had? Trace it back. Don't be perfect at it. Just try to get to know yourself. If you can acknowledge, I am feeling frustrated right now, you're already winning, because then you can say, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, I'm not really sure why, but at least you can acknowledge it. Often when your partner says to you, why are you biting me? So you may think, yeah, but it's not that person that's irritating you. You're just taking it out on that person. It could be something that's happened just before that. So, but if you can be aware of it, you can actually say to that person, I'm sorry, I don't know why I feel like this. I feel irritated. I know but exploring that situation will help you already. So the last point there, you also need to understand your strengths and weaknesses to build self-awareness. Do a personal SWOT analysis and ask for feedback from your boss, friends, or colleagues to find out how you can improve further. The people the closest to you will be able to give you some answers, because the person closest to you can see when your mood changes, or they may also know when this and that happens. This person gets a little frustrated or irritated. They know you. They can see things that you can't see yourself. So ask for that feedback, but listen to it. I often want to throw out, if I get feedback from someone, you just want to throw it out. Just entertain it for a second. Just entertain it. Just listen to it. This is how you're going to start becoming aware of yourself. So I hope you were able to answer it. And if anyone wants to share their result or their answer, you're welcome to put it in the chat box. Don't think it's just you. Everyone has got it. We are all the same. We can't control that emotional response that we have, but we can control how we react to it. So if you in the evening feel very irritated, recognize it. You don't have to chase it away, recognize it, but then you can actually say, okay, I'm recognizing I'm feeling irritated, but then you can at least sort of calm down as well, because you can feel it. You're not just going with it. So firstly, I can recognize my emotions as I experience them. I know my strengths and my weaknesses, know what it is that gets to you, that irritates you, that just, even if it's just slightly, know what that is, know what you're good at. So if you start to know yourself, you can, even if you are dealing with a difficult person, you can handle it, because you can see, listen, this person they're funny now, but let me help them, because they're experiencing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe they intimidated, or they're worried about the discussion we're going to have, whatever. You can actually deal with it. Ask for feedback. That would be the last one. Let's go on to the next question. These questions are about self-regulation. So firstly, I lose my temper when I feel frustrated. Do you lose your temper when you feel frustrated? You can answer something like a lot, or sometimes not as much. If you can recognize that you lose it quickly and a lot, it's a good thing, because then you can start becoming aware of it and maybe just temper it down a little bit. I must personally say I'm at a point now where I can see when I'm irritated. I can actually pick it up, and then I'll say to myself, whoa, okay, what's that about? Where did that come from just now? And then it's already better. The second one, I know how to calm myself down when I feel anxious or upset. So, good question. I know how to calm myself down when I feel anxious or upset. So can you see, firstly, you need to know that you're anxious or upset in order to calm yourself down. That's the regulation of the emotion. Remember, don't chase the anxiousness away, chase or ignore or avoid or deny the frustration or the upset that you're feeling. You don't have to do that. You're just a person. You're experiencing. Acknowledge it. Just have it there. Okay, I see you. I see you. And then do you know what to do with yourself then? The third one, I find it difficult to move on when I feel frustrated or unhappy. I find it difficult to move on when I feel frustrated or happy. Are you a dweller? Are you a warrior? Okay, we all are warriors, and not the good type of warrior, the fighting type of warrior. We're the warriors that has got an absolute useless function for us today. So the warrior. But I find it difficult to move on when I feel frustrated or unhappy. Now, that is the one that will sort of link to your resilience. You can only build resilience. You know, that little bit of it, I'm a little bit tougher, I'm a little bit more thick-skinned. It can only develop if you can recognize if you can recognize the situation that's just frustrated you, then the emotion that it elicited from you, and then how do I want to control that emotion? And remember, you don't want to deny or ignore that emotion. That is not good at all. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it, see it, recognize it, and then say, okay, I just need to take a deep breath. I need to just stop for a while. I did receive this email now. Before just responding, let me just go make a cup of tea, or just stop and take a few deep breaths. That is developing mindfulness as well. All right, so I hope you were able to answer these questions for yourself. So let's just quickly run through what it means. Self-regulation is about staying in control. To develop the skill in this area, learn how to manage your emotions effectively. And something that you can do easily is just before just lashing out, just think about it. Just think about it, and just step away from the computer or whatever. Just take a minute. If you often get angry, note what triggers this feeling and think about why this happens. Use techniques such as deep breathing to calm yourself down. I know that it sounds like a cliche. Everyone says it, but do it. Do it. Deep breathing will help you. And give yourself time to pause before responding to emails or requests so that you don't say something that you'll regret later. That's the oldest thing in the book. Step away from the computer. You may also be affected by other negative feelings and emotions, such as anxiety and stress. So you're already feeling pressurized. You're already in a deadline. That adds on top of it. So be aware of that as well. So do what you can to manage these feelings effectively. Accountability is another important self-regulation. Take responsibility for your actions and behavior and make sure that these align with your values. So acknowledge when you've done something stupid. Acknowledge when you've pushed yourself too far. Acknowledge when you've made a maybe too impulsive decision or a too quick decision or whatever. Acknowledge it. You'll feel better. It's only defense mechanisms that make us deny accountability. It's because you don't want to feel bad about yourself. You don't want to acknowledge it. You're just a person. If you don't want to acknowledge when you've made a mistake or it just means that your defenses, it's just very high up. You're going to get nowhere if it's high up. And if you apologize to someone and they don't want to take it, that's not your problem. You are open with yourself and you're open and honest with yourself and other people. Not everyone is going to be nice to you back. It doesn't matter. You've done your part. All right, let's look at the third one, motivation. I find it hard to focus on something over the long term. I feel that I don't enjoy my work. I set long-term goals and I review my progress regularly. Right, I find it hard to focus on something over the long term. I feel that I don't enjoy my work. I set long-term goals and I review my process regularly. So self-motivation is strongly affected by your emotions. When you're distracted by your emotions, you may find it hard to see tasks through. So that could be the self-talk where you say, it's not going to pay off. It's too much work. I need to study this thing for 5 years. Maybe you feel alone. You don't have support. So boost your motivation levels by developing self-discipline. Now, I can tell you one thing. Nothing happens without self-discipline. Even when I do my meditation, I go on meditation courses constantly. They say there, you can't have happiness without self-discipline. There's no success without self-discipline. And remember, success does not necessarily have to be in a financial or a career-wise way. It can also be true happiness, peace. But how are you going to find peace and happiness or even stress relief if you don't want to apply discipline to do the meditation, to do some deep breathing exercises, to do a little bit of exercise, to try and eat more healthily? If you don't have discipline, there's going to be very little in your life. If you don't change something today, if you're not going to do something different today than you did tomorrow, don't expect a change. Don't expect it. It's not going to happen. Just forget about it then. Think about your self-discipline. I always think about, they say it, and you've also heard it a million times. They say that people that make their beds in the morning are usually more successful in their lives than people that don't. Now, that's just a small, simple example. But if you do certain things in a disciplined way, you're going to see that it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. If you put in that effort and you are conscientious about it, there's going to be a payoff. And by looking for and celebrating small wins, simple jobs that you've completed them, give yourself a sense of achievement. I've seen so many people, especially younger people in their 20s, they don't want to start with small little steps. They don't want to do it because they want the big salary or the success right now immediately. You have to work towards it. I've seen people actually do nothing for years because they're not prepared to do the small little steps or the small efforts to build it up to get there. So it's the worst thing in my life that 5 or 10 years goes past, and when the person is 30, there's still nothing. Isn't that just crazy? Start doing little bits, little bits, little bits, little bits. You will get there. Also, set yourself longer-term goals. When you decide what you want to achieve, you'll focus on what really matters to you. This can be highly motivating, especially when you connect personal goals with career-related ones and tick them off as you go along. Visibly see how you are progressing. If you're still struggling to get motivated in your current role, take some time to rediscover your purpose. In the stress management, I also say to people, who are you? Who are you? What are your interests? What are your competencies? What are your skills? What are your hobbies? Who are you? Sometimes I think we just chase for money and to pay things, and we are so we just miss the point. But who are you? If you sit down and you breathe deeply, who are you? Are you someone that cares? Are you someone that I look after myself? And therefore, I also have the ability to just care about other people. And I'm not talking about throwing money at people and always just having an expense. Are you caring? Do you show people, I'm listening to you, I'm caring for you, I care about you? We always think that everything is about money and giving stuff or things away. It's actually not. All right, so I hope you were able to answer these statements. If you can't answer it right now, get back to it. Who are you? Then empathy. Empathy, all right. So people have told me that I'm a good listener. Oh, and this is such a big one. We all think that we listen, but most of it, we actually don't. You think you're good. You're not as great. I can tell you now, it's maybe 50%. We just don't listen as well. Do you really listen? I often ask myself if I actually really listen well. To really listen means that you keep your mouth closed. That's really a big one. You really need to ask yourself, are you listening? If you have an argument with your partner, are you really listening to what it is that they're trying? What is the emotion that they're trying to put on the table? Well, because we are so involved with putting my own emotion, what I'm trying to get across to you on the table, that do you really hear what it is that they're saying? The second one, I find it difficult to read people's emotions. This is a real big emotionally intelligent one. Are you able to read the body language? Once again, is your mouth shut? Is your mouth shut? And can you actually see this person's face? Somewhere where you can practice this is if you go to a restaurant, you sit down and you observe people around you, become aware of yourself and people around you. Who's eating what, who's doing what. And if you become aware of the waiter, the waitress, what is their day? What does their day look like? How are they feeling? What does their face look like? When you speak to the person, what is it that you can see from them? Are you really, are you just giving them your order? Are you just getting it over with? Or are you thinking, it's quite late in the day, this person must probably be quite tired. So be aware of the other person. Even if you have a fight or confrontation with your partner, what are you seeing in their face, in their behavior? And then the third one, I use active listening skills when people speak to me, right? It's almost the same as the first one. Do you actually use active listening skills when people are speaking? So firstly, I want to ask you, is your mouth closed? That would be your first indicator. So empathy is really a big one. Are you really listening? Are you really seeing what are the people out there? What are they needing from you? Are you actually sticking out your head a little bit? If someone has got the flu or is sick or something, do you take a pot of soup? And once again, there's no one expense again, but maybe not just a phone call, but maybe a pot of soup and maybe a bread, just to show that you're there. They're not alone. Empathy is the ability to recognize other people's emotion and understand their perspective. So like that incident with Lisa Nowak, that didn't really mean that we are condoning her behavior, but are we understanding in a non-judgmental way the whole scenario of what happened there? Goldman calls this aspect of EI the fundamental people skill. So when I listened to more, I looked at more documentaries about Lisa Nowak, and when I saw the whole situation where she was diagnosed with severe depression, and then I thought, she just lost it. She just lost her entire cool. She just lost it. And I'm not condoning what she did. Her behavior was very bizarre, but it made me also just have a little bit of empathy for her. She must be feeling really pretty crappy now that she's out of this thing. She's now on the other side. She got this mist and this spell. What do you call it? This mist from the Air Force and the Navy and whatever, NASA especially. And imagine how she must, now that she's on the other side, think about and feel this. Once again, we're not condoning, because it could have ended very, very badly, But when I thought about the depression, how she must have been feeling, I think I just get it from her perspective, not condoning it. To develop empathy, start by simply thinking about other people's viewpoints. Imagine how they may be feeling and use active listening skills to understand them fully when they express their emotions to you. So really listen to what it is that someone is saying, because we do psychometric testing on a daily basis. For you that's maybe been in some of the previous sessions that we've had, you'll know that I've said the pessimism in South Africa is incredibly high at the moment. It is sky high. When I get a report where it's not high, then I think, wow, this person is doing something different. It's like 1 out of maybe 100, not even, where the pessimism is good, or where there's positivity. So just be aware of how everyone is feeling. Be aware and considerate when you drive. Be careful when you even drive, road rage and all of that. I'm surprised we haven't had any other incidents yet, because there's so many things bottling up. So try to have that, just that patience with people, because someone may be driving nutty because there's so many things that's just bottling up. I do feel that after COVID, this is now the 3rd year, and I feel like the emotions are the worst now. Emotions and things are worse now than it was in the beginning. So just be aware of that. Be aware of your own pessimism, and save your energy. Get some coping skills and techniques that will help you save your energy, but also reach out to other people. Someone made a note here. A posture I have recently learned while listening is I listen with the palm of your hands open while facing upwards. It helps calm down emotions. I can absolutely believe that, because if you do breathing exercises and your palms are like this, you'll feel it's way different than when you put your palms down. There's like an energy change. And if you can't feel the energy change, practice it and become aware of it. The second tip here, try not to interrupt or talk about your own feelings during the conversation, because we try to relate to people and tell them about how you are feeling. Don't take away from the opportunity of just expressing. What one can do is ask for more information, probe and say, but how do you feel? But that must be hectic for you. Do that, then you can. The person will offload. But if you go immediately to yourself, oh yes, I know it's worse in my house. We all do that, Shane. But you're trying to relate. But look at the body language. It can tell you a lot about their emotions. If you watch and listen to others, you'll quickly become attuned to how they feel. Practice it. You can get good at it. The perceptual positions technique can give you particularly sharp insight into what other people may be thinking or feeling. Let me just do that. Okay, so the perceptual positions technique can give you a particular sharp insight into what other people may be thinking or feeling. So Position 1, your position looking through your eyes. Position 2 is the position of the other person looking back at you. Position 3, fly on the wall and you're looking down on the scene. So if you think about, so usually we get stuck at position 1. They're talking to you and you just want to relate and talk about yourself. Position 2 means put yourself in that person's shoes. When they're telling you something, what are they actually trying to say? So someone actually said to me the other day, I went to the doctor and they said to me, you're going to get a heart attack. It's just a question of when. And I thought about that statement because she was sort of saying it quite matter-of-factly, going around in an office like that. And then afterwards I thought, for her to say that, it's a big thing for her to say that to me because she's saying a big, vulnerable thing to me. And afterwards, I did see some results, and I thought, wow, that person was really speaking the truth to me. They were really opening up to me. And I think when I get an opportunity now, again, when I speak to her, I'll show her that I listen. And the thing is also what you can do is you can only also share what you know. Because I can also tell people to do a little bit of exercise, do breathing techniques. It's up to that person to take it further. So you can only also do what it is that you can, but you'll get a great sense of satisfaction if you do something, even if that is just listening. And then position 3, where you're a fly on the wall looking down, look at the two of you. Why is this person opening up to you? It means that person really needed to get it off their chest. So that will just give you, it's like having your palms turned up when someone talks to you. Try these things, it's going to help you. Then let's look at the other point, social skills. I enjoy organizing groups. I avoid conflict and negotiations. I struggle to build rapport with others. So even if you're not a natural people person, it is possible to develop better social skills. Don't shy away from negative situations. Learn how to deal with conflict and other difficult situations effectively. I have found that when I'm in a quite a tough, difficult, tension-filled room, approach it with empathy. Approach it with really listening. If someone gives you quite an aggressive response, answer it with empathy. Like, why are you saying that? Is it bothering you? Don't try and be sarcastic. That does not work. But you can be better at social skills. Show people that you care. Sometimes it may take a few approaches, a few empathic approaches, even if you may be grinding your teeth to just keep calm yourself. A few empathic approaches will show people you're not threatening. You are actually genuine. So I know it takes a lot of practice. There's a question here. So what do you do when everyone packs their problems on your shoulders and it causes conflict within yourself, meaning that you defend the person on sensitive matters? Very, very importantly is going to be your own boundaries. You're not going to just open the door. What do they call it? Open the sluice gates. Is that the right word? You're not going to do that because you want to be very much aware of your own energies, what do you have to give? You firstly have to look at yourself, then you can help others. So all of the social support that I'm talking about, having empathy for other people, taking pots of soup, whatever, you can only do that when you're okay. So step 1, so thank you for this note. This is very important. Look after yourself first. Know your energy levels. Know your own stress levels at the moment. If you feel, I just cannot reach out to people right now, I need to do something here first. Then when you're ready, but do something substantial, change things in your life. Becoming aware of your own stress, tension, anxiety. Like if you are struggling to eat, you can't just go and make pots of soup for other people. Just get your stuff ready. Get your mindset ready. Change your mindset. Practice it a little bit. Become aware of yourself, the tension in your family, your children, your husband, your wife, whoever. Become aware of that. Get your things in place. Do a few. Of course, my recommendation to you will be to practice some meditation techniques very consistently, regularly, even if it's just a half an hour a day. I do it religiously. I do not skip on that. I've made it an absolute part of my life. I cannot do without it. I can sort of feel my whole day is different when I don't. I just want to keep an eye on the time. So sort yourself out first. Know what your boundaries are. Then you start supporting. Then don't be that dumping block. Please stay away from people where you can do absolutely nothing about it. So what they teach us in the meditation, they'll say, make people aware, show them also what it is that they can do to help themselves. If they don't want to listen, then you can let it go. So firstly, boundaries, really a very, very good point, this one. So thank you so much for bringing this up. Boundary, boundary, boundary. Because people need to know that you know what you're doing, you're firm, but you're not going to be because then you're going to end up right back there again. And this is where your emotional intelligence is going to help you, because if you can identify someone, they just don't want to help themselves. It doesn't matter what I do. They do the same bad behavior. I can talk and talk and help. So that's your emotional intelligence then. So very important. If you're uncomfortable with social situations, work on building self-confidence, then start slowly, but then look for opportunities to practice your skills with bigger groups. For example, you could offer to attend conferences on behalf of your team, things like this. When I present these two to people, I actually started off by getting exposure and so that I can keep in touch with my own clients and that. Now I've changed this to, I want to help people. This is my social responsibility. I will even sometimes present some of these classes to companies. It's my contribution. I want to help people, but I can't help people if they're going to listen to this and then tomorrow do nothing about it. But that's my part. That's my part that I try to do. Right, and then let's look at interview questions when you need to interview someone in your organization if you want to measure their emotional intelligence. So this would be competency-based. So this would be the type of questions you can ask a new employee to see whether, how good they are. So you can actually customize these questions, but you always want to start it in the same way that my sentence is here. So tell me about a time when your mood had an impact on your work. This could be positive or negative. It doesn't have to be a positive example, even if they can recognize a negative one. So tell me about a time when your mood had an impact on your work. So you want them to be able to recognize their own emotions, whether it's positive or negative. You're not going to get more points because it was positive. No, it's positive or negative. Describe an example of when you had to be confrontational to achieve results. What did you do and how was it received? So once again, they could provide a positive or negative example. You want to see whether they can identify their own emotions, manage it, and control the situation. So remember, you don't want to have a person that don't have these emotions, that's always calm. That's not necessarily winning. We all have them. We all have to control them. That's normal. Tell me about a time. So if someone actually says to you, oh no, I'm so calm, I don't have to, I'm never confrontational. That's nonsense. I have to be confrontational before we all have to. We try our best. That's what we do. We try our best. As long as you try, I'll give you points for that. Tell me about a time when you had to neutralize a situation, a stressful situation in a professional environment. So you want to see whether they are mature and does not shy away from conflict. So once again, whether they provide a positive or negative example, you want to identify their social awareness and social skills. So if they can pick up a vibe in a room, if they can pick up how that room affects them, that type of thing. It doesn't have to be a perfect answer. You want to just see whether they've got that awareness. Tell me about a time when you had to work cohesively in a team with people they didn't like. You want to see whether the individual has the maturity to recognize that you do not have to like everyone, but deal with them objectively and professionally, therefore controlling their own emotions. Right. And then let me see the last question here. Describe a time when you had to deliver some bad news to someone. So you want to identify their ability to listen, show empathy and understanding for others' emotions. You want to see how they deliver the message. Right. Those are some questions that you can use. But what can you do right now today? So practical things that you can do. Start listening. That's probably the biggest thing you can do right now. And my most important first point would be, can you listen in a neutral, non-judgmental way? So in a neutral, non-judgmental way. So when we heard someone has done something like Lisa Nowak or whatever, we're like, what? She's a nut. She's crazy. Can you listen and say, wow, this is interesting. Let me just hear the story. Then the second point, patient, periods of silence that are not filled. You know, us extroverts, we try and talk all the time. So even when we're waiting for someone to answer, we try and fill the gaps with words. It's quite an exercise to try and just sit and let the person speak. Let them think and speak. Like introverts are not uncomfortable with silences, as extroverts are uncomfortable with the silences. So just try and practice to step back and keep quiet. It's quite an exercise to do that. Thirdly, verbal and non-verbal feedback to show signs of listening. And you can also practice this and really lean forward, really show the person that you're listening. It actually encourages them. It shows them that you're not bored. So smiling, eye contact, leaning in, mirroring. Because if you really want to listen, show them that you're listening. Mouth closed. See if you can zip it. I'm a good one to talk, it takes practice to do that. But, if you're waiting for someone to answer, look away, look up at them again, give them time to answer. They may also be a little bit anxious, maybe thinking about the response. Just give them time to think and to answer. Asking more questions of interest, reflecting what is said back to you, asking for clarification. For example, saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is the situation, or I hear you. I can hear that you're saying this and that. Can you see those last four? You're not saying, yeah, I know. In my house, it's better. That's what we do the best. But, sometimes we have a good intention. We want to show that we relate. But practice this one. So if someone tells you something, ask a question. But what are your symptoms? How are you feeling? Reflecting back. So you're saying that this is what happened, asking for clarification. So this actually happened on that day, and these many people were involved, but even summarizing. So what you're telling me is this and that. So these are all things that you can practice. Really try to practice it. So really, this is a very good slide. So what not to do? We all just think about ourselves. It's almost like a natural thing that comes to us, doesn't it? It's like you immediately think about yourself. Yeah, I was also stressed yesterday, like, I don't know, we all just don't relate. Wait for that for later stage. So what not to do is being stuck in your own head, not showing respect for the speaker, only hearing superficial meaning, not really hearing the underlying meaning. So someone can speak words and maybe say to you, I feel so stressed, but what are they really saying? What are they really, what is under the message? A very arrogant type of attitude could also have a very vulnerable meaning underneath it. But remember, if you're in a place of self-preservation yourself because of your own stress and you're trying to keep calm yourself, you may not want to show that empathy because you may be thinking, I want to help myself, bro. I'm like, just, I don't have time for this now. So be aware of where you are in your life. Where are you right now? Do you have the energy to give? Become aware of that and become aware of when someone is maybe reaching out to you or not. Interrupting. Don't try and interrupt because you're trying to help them with their conversation. It may actually be more disturbing than anything else. If you don't make eye contact, it will show you're not interested. Rushing the speaker may look like you're not interested. Becoming distracted. Oh, the phone. Leave the phone alone. That could also be, they also say that people who's emotionally intelligent will know how to disconnect. Just just for some time during the day, be without your phone. When you go drink your coffee or tea in tea time or lunchtime, just sit with your cup of tea or coffee, smell it, experience it, taste it. Just have that 15 minutes to yourself without the phone. You know how much energy this thing takes from you. When it beeps, you go. Beeps, you go. It takes a lot of energy. And think about it. You're constantly answering. It's constant. Can you imagine the energy that goes out of you on a daily basis, late at night, early morning? Let the thing go a little bit of time. I've even left my phone at home when I say go to Pilates or whatever. I am sometimes worried if something happens en route, then you don't have a phone. So there's a practicality to it as well. But try yourself, test yourself a little bit. And then topping the story with saying something like that reminds me of a time, when you talk about yourself, forgetting what was said in the past, asking about unimportant details, focusing too much on details and missing the bigger picture, ignoring what you don't understand. That's important. Sometimes we just say yes, we don't know what they are saying. This is when you want to ask for clarification. Daydreaming, only pretending to pay attention. So we are so involved with ourselves. We think about ourselves a lot. So you may now think, it just popped into my head right now, we may think, but I'm actually teaching you to be aware of yourself. There's a difference to be self-absorbed versus being aware of yourself. Being aware of yourself is actually being aware of how self-absorbed you are. How much do you think about yourself and not about other people? Being aware of it also. Self-centeredness, selfishness is not the same as being aware of yourself, being aware of how you're feeling, how other people are feeling. It's slightly different. Can you see that? So I want to say to you, narcissism is also almost slightly it's sort of distorted. If you can take that selfishness and say, and change it into how am I feeling, but also how are other people feeling, you can actually use that energy effectively. Okay, so that is my message to you today. I want to show you this is our email address. You can even say celia@ptesconsulting.co.za. We will get your email. I can share the slides with you. And I really hope to see you next week, Wednesday again. That will be part 3. The more exposure you can get with this, the more experience you can get with what it is and how to practice it, the better. So please give me any questions in the Q&A if you want to right now. If there's anything you want to clarify, please put your question in the question box. You can see that when people put their thoughts on there, it actually really adds value. But email me if you want to have the slides. And yes, thank you. I also hope to see you Wednesday. I hope to see all of you next week, Wednesday. So please build on this and try and get better at it. You can excel at it. You can be a great human being and look after yourself, your family, and reach out to other people. So please let me know if you've got any questions. And that is it for today then. I was so happy to see all of you. There was such a lot of attendees today. So thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, all of you. If it wasn't for you joining, I'd be talking to myself. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Have an absolutely great Wednesday. Bye-bye.